Hello everybody and welcome to something a little bit different from my usual streams. Instead of playing a game today, I thought it would be a good idea to go and watch some videos about Dragon's Dogma 2. Most of them will be from the IGN channel, as they have a ton of videos that they were allowed to release or that they made with the content that was available. So I thought, let's take a look at a bunch of those. As you can see, I have a couple of them already ready to go and watch. It's probably going to be like the video footage, everything combined is like 1.5 hours, I believe, maybe a little bit less. So I'm not sure how long this stream will be, but yeah, we'll just we'll watch it. If something interesting happens, we'll pause it, play back, take a look at it again, that kind of stuff. Just taking a look, reacting, and commenting on some of the stuff. I thought it would be a good idea for the upcoming launch of Dragon's Dogma 2. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to play today in terms of games. Could have done another Dragon's Dogma 1 stream, of course, but I thought, let's do something different. Tomorrow, I'm also going to be doing something different, I believe. I have to double check, but I believe there's a game coming out, or well, there's a game that I got a key for that I believe can play tomorrow after a certain time when the embargo has been lifted for that one. So we might play something else tomorrow as well. And then after that, we'll be back with some more Dragon's Dogma 1 up until the launch of Dragon's Dogma 2. So that should be good. Good to see you there, King, Rian in the chat, and everybody else who's lurking. Thanks for the like. Are we becoming a reaction channel now? No, just a one-off, right? I don't really do this kind of stuff usually, but I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. Let's just go watch some videos on it, because there were a couple of them that I intended to watch, that I was gonna watch on my own time, but I kind of forgot about it. And today I was like, oh yeah, there were a couple of videos that I was supposed to go and watch and learn a little bit more about the game. And yeah, so that's why I decided to do this stream of watching that together with you guys, basically. I thought it would be a good idea. All right, without further ado, let's just go and watch these videos. So we got the official trailer featuring Ian McShane. Not sure who that was, but apparently an important dude. But yeah, it's a video about 7-8 minutes, about like basically a little bit of everything about the game. I've seen that one already. Evolution of Pawns, I think I've seen that one. Creating a high fantasy open world, and a dev interview is there as well, apparently. Short video, but this is from Vextra Life. I've already seen this one as well, but I thought I would comment on that one a little bit. Most of what he said was right, but there were a couple of things that were a little bit strange, I found. And I don't think I've seen this one, the first video preview of IGN. Everything they know about after 10 hours of playing. 11 minutes of gameplay on the PS5. 18 minutes of the fighter, thief, warrior, sorcerer gameplay, which I thought would be interesting to watch. And then another 5-minute gameplay. I'm guessing I've seen this one already, and the majority of people watching have seen this one already as well. Like, copy paste it over on Twitter and stuff and all the other social media platforms. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I thought I would watch them anyway. So yeah, it should be good. Let's go and start this one up. Should probably do... Oh wait, hold on. Do I not have my headset audio on? There you go.
A world touched by magic, a symphony of myth and reality, an everlasting saga of hearts set ablaze. Lend me a moment, and I'll tell you a story of a fantastical realm.
All right, the hero.
For untold eons, a dragon has plagued the world. Its ominous shadow looms over the lands, a dreadful creature of chaos and awe, with tales of its cruelty echoing far and wide. No mortal would dare to dream of challenging the dragon in single combat, yet there is one who must. In a legendary tale doomed to repeat across the ages, the dragon chooses a worthy champion from each generation, wrenching the beating heart from their chest and forging a being known as the Arisen. This hero, marked by fate and burdened by their lost humanity, must rise from the trappings of ordinary life and answer the call to take up arms in search of the dragon who stole their heart. But the path of the Arisen is not a solitary journey, for they are granted access to the rift, the thread connecting worlds.
I see you recognize my worth, Arisen.
Where they can summon mystical beings from parallel realities, the loyal and hard-working pawns, masters of archery, wielders of potent spells and skilled in the arts of swordplay and melee. The pawns become the Arisen's companions and confidants.
I hope you slept well, Master.
As they go forth on their journey together.
The Arisen hero booster? That's right. Two nations.
In pursuit of the beckoning dragon, the Arisen and their pawns set foot across two nations, as disparate in terrain as they are in their ways of life. In Vermund, a fertile land cradled by alpine peaks and rolling hills, the fortress city stands as a bastion of prosperity and security.
So good.
Cascading waterfalls and serpentine rivers flow throughout the countryside, feeding into fruitful farms where a feeling of abundance permeates the fresh air. Just above the capital city, Vernworth Palace rises proudly.
You are approaching the gates of Vernworth.
Here, the Arisen is traditionally revered as the sovereign, a monarch crowned by destiny and looked upon as a champion.
Basically just like in the first game.
The land from the dragon's scourge. Beyond Vermund's verdant embrace lies Batal, the nation of Beastren, a land of unforgiving deserts. Its shifting sands and jagged canyons require creative thinking to traverse, with gondolas connecting precarious outposts. Here, the Arisen is not an esteemed sovereign, but an outsider. Their pawn companions believed to be a source of grave misfortune. Batal's rulers are not of human lineage, but rather Beastren priestesses who worship the lambent flame. For the Beastren believe its sacred fires shield them from the calamity of the dragon. Meanwhile, outside the reaches of human and Beastren, hidden within the depths of the forest, an ancient sect of elves resides in seclusion, speaking in a tongue
that's pretty cool.
To them,
an elven
in contact with other races.
Elven village somewhere in the forests.
On their journey, the Arisen will navigate through conflicts between species and the complexities of culture, faith, and history in each land. The choices the Arisen makes will shape not only their future, and that of those with whom they interact, but the future of the world itself.
I really like the elven one as well, and in another video, they were talking about that you have to basically learn their language to be able to talk to them, because they speak a strange language. So you need a pawn that has that knowledge, or you need to find a way to like translate it somehow. It's gonna be pretty cool. Nice little extra detail.
The Arisen's Odyssey is fraught with peril. For the world is home not only to human and beastren, but to all manner of monsters, hungering to defeat the hero and their pawns. Each step of the way is
the drakes look so good compared to in the first one.
In the face of relentless adversaries.
I mean, they looked good in the first one anyway, but
shrieks of harpies reverberate through the mountains and canyons. Resourceful
do you think they'll make a statue for you? Maybe.
Adapting to the terrain and waiting to ambush in
I mean, they should, you know.
The footsteps of
should have done that ages ago.
Animated by powerful charms, shake the earth and rattle the Arisen's bones.
Oh yeah. The golems look strange. I don't know how I feel about those. I feel like the golems in the first game looked better. Well, here they look more like actual stone blocks, like smacked together, right? Which is more realistic, I suppose, in a way. But I think I prefer the look from the old one.
Lumbering golems, animated by powerful charms, shake the earth and rattle the Arisen's bones.
But they're pretty cool.
When the sun sets,
Up we get. We can expect a busy night.
Skeletons.
You can see as well, Clovis.
An undead rise from their slumber. A single undead, murmuring to itself adrift in memories of its living past, is a haunting sight. But a horde of undead, united in a mindless nocturnal frenzy, is a truly nightmarish test of mettle.
Golem looks like it's gonna be a hard fight.
Foes,
I don't think it's gonna be much harder than in the first game. It probably has the same way of defeating them. So you're gonna have to like climb their discs and stuff, right? Like in the first one. You can see the glowing disc on top of him there. On the back side there. So yeah, right now he's in rage mode. When it's red, it's in rage mode probably. And then when it turns back to purple, he's just chilling again, sort of. You can attack those discs. Probably going to be the same thing as in the original. Because the developers also said that this game is not necessarily a sequel or whatever, right? Because it basically all happens in some sort of alternate dimension, alternate world, or whatever. The multiverse sort of situation, right? So it doesn't really happen like before or after the original. And the second game is basically made the way they wanted to make the first one, but they just did not have the technology for it, basically, to make it as big and as good as they wanted the first time around. So that's basically what they're doing this time, is they're using the new technology from like 10, 12 years later, right, to actually make the game that they wanted to make the first time. Let's see, where were we earlier? Somewhere around here.
But a horde of undead, united in a mindless nocturnal frenzy, is a truly nightmarish test of mettle. And the mightiest foes are monsters most only see in myth.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
The Minotaurs trampling hooves.
Minotaurs!
The Medusa with its petrifying gaze. And the Dullahan's ghastly severed head.
Yeah, that one's
will
creepy.
strike fear in even the most stout-hearted. And with every exhilarating encounter, the hero must think creatively. It will take cleverness.
I'm not sure how I feel about the Chimera either. When I saw the new Chimera first, like the head of the lion, it looks so strange compared to what it was before. It doesn't really look... It looks a little bit less lion-y, in my opinion. Especially from this angle. If you look at him from the side. I mean, you can clearly tell that it's supposed to be a lion, but... I don't know. It just looks strange to me right now. And maybe also bigger? Maybe slightly larger than in the original? Kind of hard to tell right now, but he looks bigger to me.
As well as courage to conquer the three heads of the Chimera. Slay the soaring griffin.
Looks like a sad face, yeah.
The bronze giant.
Oh, this one's gonna be cool too. A massive bronze giant.
Emboldens the Arisen spirit and prepares them for the inevitable showdown with the indomitable dragon.
Oh yeah.
The culmination of both their destinies. Welcome to Dragon's Dogma 2.
Nice. Pre-order now. Alright, so that was the first one. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Let's see. Was there something... Oh yeah, there was something I wanted to talk about, but I forgot. This bit right here. Yeah, the nose of the Chimera was bigger, where the original was small, like a cat. Yeah. It's like the face in general just seems a little bit larger than in the original. And a bit more... I don't know how to explain that properly. But yeah, just a bit larger, and it stands out a bit more from the rest of the body, as opposed to in the last game. But this part I wanted to look back, like when you are going into the rift.
But the path
so interacting with the stone,
journey, for they are granted access to the rift,
and like seamlessly you enter the rift as well. You can't really see that in this trailer very well. But I'm sure there's going to be other videos that we're going to look at later that will show that. There's like no loading screens or whatever when you're going into the rift, for example. That's pretty cool.
Recognize my worth, Arisen.
It looks really cool. I like it.
Beings from parallel realities.
I like it a lot. Yeah, parallel realities. So that is what they like confirm here, right? Like, the whole Arisen story for everybody is in their own parallel universe, their own parallel reality. That is like the story of the Arisens. That's why everybody can be their own Arisen, and you can hire a pawn from a different plane of existence, basically. It's pretty cool. All right, we've watched that one. Let's go into the evolution of the pawns developer interview. It's only a short one, only 3 minutes. Let's go and watch that one next. That should be cool. But good to see you, King Toast. The face proportions on the Chimera were over-exaggerated, yeah.
Pray. Summon your pawn. Simply paint with your mind's eye the loyal attendant whom you would have serve you.
Oh, this time around we surveyed lots of players before creating the pawns. We had a lot of feedback saying the pawns in this first game repeated the same dialogue too much. Yeah, true. So we focused first on that. Definitely true. We've done whatever we can to keep pawns from repeating the same lines multiple times. I mean, if you're gonna play the game for 50 hours, it's definitely gonna repeat a little bit. Pawns and other NPCs play a major role in the game.
ゲームをやってる
We
友
want our
達が
pawns
横
to
にい
feel
て
like
ア
a
ドバイスしてくれ
friend
るような
who's playing the game, sitting there
感じに
next to
ポンをし
you
たいな
and
と
giving you advice.
思ってまして、
Yep.
こっちっすよ。
A single player, multiplayer type game, basically.
これだったらこっちはこの方がいいですよとか、こうしますよっていうふうなことを案内してくれる。
I didn't really
友達が
read
横
the
で
rest
い
of
い感
that.
じにアドバイスして
It's
くれ
like
るってい
having a
う
friend
こと
there
の
guiding you in an
実現
enjoyable way.
ですね。まあ、できれば
We wanted to avoid putting too many
矢印とかあんまり出
markers
したく
and
なくて
such on
で
the
すね。
screen. Yeah, there are still quest markers though, but it's more on the mini map. You can see that here. You can see like a yellow triangle, upside down triangle, pointing towards the east because the north is right there. So yeah, you can still see quest markers, luckily, but nothing on screen, it seems, which is... Oh wait, or is that the hand?
ゲーム的なちょっと冷めるよう
No, the
な
hand is
表現はあんまりしたくなくて、できれば全部
Diego?
NPC
I'm not sure why that hand was near
しても
Diego.
らえるようなっていうところに非常に力を割きます。前作でもポーンごとの性格
Pawns
って
in
いうの
previous
はしっかり
game
と
did each have their own
設定をされていたんですけ
personalities.
ど、まあ本当はまあ性格無
But
限に
while it would be
あるのが
nice for there to be an
いいと思うんですけ
infinite
ど、
number of personalities,
いくつか分
we
かりや
split
すい
personalities up into a number of easily understood elements.
性格ごとに
Each has a different voice actor,
変えて
tone
口調
and
も変え
speech.
て
Tone of speech, okay?
特徴的な行
They
動
also
を
take unique actions based on something. It should make it even easier for players to pick pawns based on their expectations of what they'll do, as well as pick them based on their preference for the certain
感じで選ん
personalities.
でもらえるのかなと思っています。そうですね。なんかあったっけ？
個性で言えば、
If you want to think of it, you want to think of it in
今
terms of
回
something, I
意識的
think
にその個性の幅を広
we've
げてる
very
タイトルだと僕は思
consciously
ってるんですけれども、
tried to expand the number of ways in which
今
pawns
言わ
can
れた
be
性格もそう
individuals.
ですし、
There's
あと知識に
personality,
関しても
while in terms of
まあ
knowledge,
敵へ
they
の
might
知識
have
とか
knowledge of certain
あと今
enemies.
回
Players can
クエ
also
ストは
freely play through
プレイヤ
quests
ーが
in
自
this
由
game.
に遊んでいける。メインクエストが
There's
何か
lots
と
of
かではな
different
くて、
quests
い
in the
ろんな
game,
クエ
not
ス
just
トがこの
specific
ゲーム
main
の中にあるん
quests.
ですけれども、あまり強制
Don't
してないんです
force
ね。
things on
っていう
players
こと
too
は、
much.
プレイヤー
The
が
game
遊
is
ん
made
だ
in a
ク
way
エスト
where you
は、
can
そのトーンだけ
only
がクエス
particular
トの
pawns
知識
can
を身に
take
つけ
you
るってい
along
う
a
仕組みになってい
quest
るんで、
will learn
いろ
from
んな
that
人が
quest.
どういう遊び、どういうクエストを
I
遊
think
ん
there
だ
will
か
be
によって、
individual
またそこ
experiences
も
based
ど
off
ういう知
something,
識を持っ
what
てる
quest
かっ
they
ていう
go
性
on
が
will
ちゃんと
result
分
in
かれ
what
るよう
kind
に
of
なってる
knowledge they
の
will
で、
have.
ポンを探す時の楽しさとしても、
Part of the
あ、
fun in
この知
finding
識を持ってる
pawns
ポンなんであり
something.
がたい
They
と
go too
か、
quickly.
なんかそういう感情に返ってくるところが
It's hard
綺麗
to
にこうシンク
read
ロしてる
all
ゲームに
the
なってるなと思ってます。
translations underneath it. I definitely missed a couple of things there, but yeah, I don't think they really talk about anything new that I didn't really know already. I think if you've played the first game, I think you're gonna know like 80% probably of what this game is about already, of course, in terms of mechanics, features, and stuff, you know. All right, but that was pretty cool. Good to see. All right, that one's done then as well. Only a short one. Good to see you too. Just joined late, so you'll have to. So have you already watched the vocation trailers? I've not seen any vocation trailers, no. And I wasn't really planning on watching like all the vocation trailers because I've seen those already. But we are gonna take a look at this one, 18 minutes of gameplay from the fighter, thief, warrior, sorcerer. I'm not gonna look at like all the videos, obviously, because that would be insane. There's so many videos out there that like are copying the same thing over and over and over again, right? All right, creating a high fantasy open world. Let's go watch that one next.
ドラゴンズドグマの世界の設定自体が、たく
Because
さんの
Dogma
平
is
行
a
世界
story
の
of
中
many
の、一つの世界
parallel
の話だし、
worlds.
ポーンたちはそれぞれの
In
平
these
行世界
parallel
に
worlds,
いる
pawns
ユー
interact
ザ
with
ー
the
と
Arisen and other pawns.
ポーンのやり取りをしてますっていう世界観で
The
や
new
ってる
game
中で、今
continues
回
that
も
setting.
ドラゴンズドグマの世界観の
It's
中の
just
ど
one
こ
of
か
the
の
parallel worlds within
平行
Dragon's
世界の一
Dogma.
つっていう設定です。なので、
That's why the story of the constant rebirth that's focused around the dragons and the elements of the world seen in the previous game are carried over to this one. That said, it's a different parallel world, so some parts will be similar yet different. We've been careful to create a high fantasy world that looks and feels like you would imagine a real-life fantasy world to feel. That goes for the first game too. That's why we focus so much on creating a European and Northern English feel down to the vegetation and structures. I was the art director for the first Dragon's Dogma game 10 years ago. Generally speaking, we decided to carry over the elements from the previous title. We couldn't just make massive changes, but we still had some changes to make. So we had to closely examine each part of the game, which made things a little difficult. We went with a high fantasy concept for this game. Our director approach the references was unique, because he didn't start by giving us references like films, but rather things like paintings that depicted ancient scenery. A lot of simple things that felt distinctive to me. We've talked about this being a classic fantasy game. That's a style long enjoyed by many, and we started by trying to create scenery and such based on classical paintings and medieval art. That's nice. I wanted the team to know what it's like to be in a place where your destination is close within sight, that you feel excited about the journey to arrive. We went all kinds of places so that the planning team could understand. This mostly involved climbing mountains, and I also liked their Rio coasts. They have clear elevation changes and blocked sightlines, so I got everyone to visit them. I'd go, yes, here, like this, doesn't this get you excited, so that they would understand. It's really about hardware starting around the PS3 area. Graphics now look quite realistic. Oh yeah, for sure. Instead of using symbols to say, you'll die if you fall here, you can make players get a sense for that visually. Those kinds of expressions are possible now. There's a scary attraction in Osaka where you can walk around the edge of the something skyscraper. Told everyone they needed to go and experience why it's scary. I made sure that at the start to teach everyone, or have them consciously experience, the kinds of terrain and views that move people emotionally. That's interesting. The beasts have been depicted ever since the concept art at the very start of the planning of the first game. They are based on a half-beast protagonist of an old arcade fighting game called Red Earth. I included this concept in illustrations I made early in the first Dragon's Dogma development. That said, depicting their fur was a little too difficult at the time. It was also our first attempt on an open world game, so we gave up on the beast run due to the difficulty of creating them. It's possible now, a decade later, thanks to the technology like the RE engine. There's lots of new things we couldn't do then that we're implementing now, and one of those is the beast run. I think that 10-year wait felt worthwhile from the development perspective. I started by coming up with lots of ideas based on the fact that there is something, for example, differences in their religion, the nation having more beastmen while the other has more humans. And then thought about the differences in culture and lifestyle that would create. Oh, I missed that sentence there a little bit. The overall climate, what kinds of clothing would fit that. I also thought about how it would ultimately fit in with the director's and art director's vision for the visuals. We focused on creating a foreign-feeling nation inside of what's already a different world, whether it's different colored land, the weather, the variety of races, or religion and industry. All of it needed to feel foreign. That said, I couldn't bring to mind any specific country. I think we did a good job of writing that fine line. It'll make me happy if players feel the same way. Thanks. It's really interesting hearing how they approached the creation of the game. So they went on like trips, I guess. Looks like they like went around the world basically and went to specific places in the world to see like different terrain. Like you mentioned, some coasts somewhere, and like going to a skyscraper to like see how frightening it is to be up there, I guess, or whatever. I'm not quite sure if I understood that perfectly fine, but that is interesting. That's pretty cool that they use like they try to make it as real as possible in that sense, emotionally speaking, like what you would experience, what you would feel when you see that. It's interesting. All right, so those are a trailer and two like developer sort of videos. Now let's see, I can watch something else first, I suppose. Well, let's do this one. This is a video from Vextra Live, which is basically, it's a little bit about the first game, it's a little bit about the second game. I think they have played the second one already. I think they had access to that. I'm not quite sure. I think so. But he's basically like explaining what to expect from Dragon's Dogma 2 based on what he experienced and also in the first game, I believe. So I thought I would.
In this Dragon's Dogma 2 video, I want to talk a little bit about the game and some of the hurdles that players have had historically with Dragon's Dogma to kind of better inform you of some of the things that are in store for you when you play this game so that you...
All right, let's see. What did you say about Red Earth? Red Earth was a fun fighting game recently released in the Capcom Fighting Collection. Have you played that one? Or did you know it? I've never heard of it before. It's probably before my time. Before I started gaming, probably.
You can have an absolutely better experience. Now, this is not a proper guide. I'm not going to be telling you, go here, do this, don't do this, etc. But it's just giving you some information about some of the game's mechanics that if you're not aware of, you're going to have a very difficult time in the game. And you'd be best to come up with a strategy for them either now or when you play the game so that you can really, really enjoy it.
Now, I've already seen this one. I've already seen this one, and with some of the things that he's saying, I definitely agree. And he does give some good information about like the first and the second game, I suppose. But he's putting it all very negatively. I find he's not really positive about the experience. And I've seen also on X, on Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that he's been like, well, a lot of people have a negative feeling towards the game now after watching his video. Like they mentioned the Vextra video, and then like, oh, I was gonna buy it, but now I'm not sure. So I hope they actually watch some other creators as well. And do some of their own research on the game, because it seems like a lot of people are put off by it. But yeah, let's see. Vextra, Maximilian Dude, and the other influencers that have opportunities to play it in a preview event. Yeah, they're allowed to play as an Magic Archer and Mystic Spearhand. Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. Unfortunately, I'm not one of the creators who had access to that. I am way too small. Probably only like 100,000 or 500,000 sub channels. Not channels like us, huh?
Dragon's Dogma 1 launched. I got the game at launch. I barely made it out of the first town. The game looked janky, the systems were convoluted, it wasn't modern.
Now see, this is what I find strange as well. He said he barely made it out of the first game, out of the first town. What do you mean making it barely out of the first town? You literally just walk out of the gate. That's the first town. Like, what? What do you mean? Do you mean the encampment? Do you mean traveling the road between Carcides and the encampment? Between the encampment and the way castle? He's very he doesn't really give a lot of good information about his experience properly. He says barely made it out of the first town. Well, like there's no enemies in the first town. What are you talking about? There's enemies underneath it in the sewer system. But that's something completely different.
I played like 5 hours, I set it aside. Months later, when I needed something to play, I gave it another try and I made it much further into the game. I got to the capital about 15 hours or so into the game. And that's where it really clicked for me and I fell in love with Dragon's Dogma. And I have a similar story.
15 hours before he got to the capital. That is a lot. That takes a lot of time for him to get to the capital. I don't know what he's doing before that time. Must have been running around in the wrong direction or something.
With Dark Souls, I picked up Dark Souls. I got past the Taurus Demon after a rough start. I finally figured out where to go. Went down to Lower Undeadburg.
And I was talking about Dark Souls.
The fuck out of the game. And it wasn't until
the only negative controversy you've heard is the 30 FPS in consoles. Yeah.
Things about Dark Souls.
I have not seen the Asmongold stuff. Well,
clicked for me.
I heard a lot of people complain about Asmongold having his own pawn. Because he got like one of the like in-game pawns, right? Like everybody can just hire that pawn. It will always be in the game, basically. That's what people were frustrated about because he had some controversial things he said about wokeness in games or whatever. And indeed, the 30 FPS on consoles, that's what a lot of people are mad about. Luckily, though, I'm going to be playing it on PC, so no problem for me.
It's my attempt at trying to help you get to that point with Dragon's Dogma, or at least as much as I can in a 10-minute video.
Character creation.
So the first thing that you need to understand is that character creation severely impacts your character in a gameplay way. We covered this in our character creation video a couple weeks ago, but the larger your character is, the more carry weight they have.
Very true.
And carry weight is a huge part of Dragon's Dogma. And the reason that carry weight is such an important part of Dragon's Dogma for a couple reasons. First, you collect a lot of things when you're playing Dragon's Dogma. When you're out on the landscape and you're exploring and you're going through the open world, etc., like you're picking up lots of materials and items, etc., and you will get overloaded very, very quickly if you don't have a lot of inventory space. So that's number one. And the second thing is that your equip load is affecting your stamina in the game. So the heavier you are, the less easy it is to manage your stamina. The slower it recovers, the faster it drains when doing specific activities. So keeping and managing your equip weight becomes really important, not only from an inventory perspective and an efficiency perspective, but also from a combat perspective. Like the last thing that you want to have happen is that like you're going into combat and you're running out of stamina constantly, and you're just getting like staggered or knocked down or just getting gangbanged by enemies, and you can't do anything because you just can't manage your stamina very well. And part of that, beginning part of that, is really understanding carry weight and how to manage that.
Very true. That's all true.
And this is further compounded by the fact that fast travel in Dragon's Dogma is extremely limited, particularly early on in the game. So you're running a lot of places that you're going. Oh, there's a quest to rescue Jim over in a cave. So you decide to head out to that cave. and you have to sprint the whole way there. And as you sprint through there, you're going to find materials to pick up, you're going to run into enemies to fight, and that's going to make you heavier, and you're going to start running out of stamina faster, and it might get harder and harder for you to manage your stamina if you weren't ready to go when you headed out on the landscape and you weren't set up ahead of time.
Yeah, indeed. You only played the original couple like a week ago or whatever, and didn't read the tutorials. Got slaughtered by the bandits, I believe, that were like above that, on that peak, like where the boulder drops off or something. I believe it was there. I've seen a lot of people talk about it. I've not seen it myself, but I've seen a lot of people talk about that kind of stuff.
And another thing that's a little bit of a tangent, but can also help you with this, is the pawn system of the game. A lot of times when people start Dragon's Dogma, they don't understand what the pawn system is. It's unique to Dragon's Dogma. But one of the things they don't realize is that pawns can really help you with carry weight. For instance, like if you hire a bunch of big pawns or you make your pawn huge, they can carry a lot of stuff for you.
True.
That can further prevent you from being bogged down and ruining your experience by having poor stamina management. So one of the things you should really realize about pawns is potentially maybe you should be looking out for big pawns so they can help you with carry weight. But the other thing about pawns too is a lot of times people don't understand, like, what vocation should they make their pawn? Like, what vocations of pawns should they hire?
Now, it is definitely true that you're going to want to have, like, you know, you probably are going to want to have a bigger Arisen and pawn so that you can carry stuff, but you also got to keep in mind the class that you're going to have for them, right? I mean, if you're going to have a thief, right? Daggers, he's got to be fast. The thief build is got to be a fast build. He's going to have to move around quickly and get his stamina back quickly so that he can quickly do attacks. If you're making a 2 meter high, 100 kilogram thief, then he's not going to be able to do much as a thief because he's going to be way too slow. And stamina won't restore as quickly, right? It will regenerate as quickly. So even though having a good, you know, tall, weighty pawn might be good in terms of storage, so that he can carry stuff, you're definitely going to have to consider like what class you want him to be. Because yeah, if you want him to be a thief or, well, an archer for that matter, you might want to have a more nimble pawn who can move around a little bit more quickly. That is definitely something to consider. As where when you have a fighter, I mean, sure, you want him to be nimble as well, but having a bigger dude might also be good there because obviously armor can be very heavy. I noticed that when I did my Mystic Archer build in the original, and still right now, actually as a sorcerer, I'm still like, especially when carrying like a lot of potions and stuff, I'm very weighed down with all the with the armor and all the potions and whatnot. So it's definitely good to have a bigger Arisen for that kind of stuff, especially if you have a fighter or as a pawn as well, obviously. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. I think I'm gonna try to go for like somewhere in the middle. You know, I'm not gonna max it out all the way. I'm not gonna go lower. Right now, I think I have like a 180 on the character creation, but I think I might increase that to 190 or something because the maximum is like 2 something. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to take a look at like what is the middle basically, but I think having the middle would be pretty good because then you can kind of switch between vocations easier and not being too slow or too too easy to push around, so to speak. Also a nice addition that was shown in the preview footage. When you level up, it shows you which stats have gone up. Oh, that's nice.
What should they do?
Yeah, I didn't really do that
matches
before.
Their party makeup. How do they have a good party composition with pawns? And so they get onto the landscape. They're already having problems with carry weight, and now their party is kind of messed up because they don't have a good party setup. and then you can really struggle in combat if you don't understand the system. So just imagine this scenario for a second. You head out to save Jim in the cave. You're already heavy when you headed out. You're getting heavier by the minute as you pick up more stuff. Start getting into fights, and you're running out of stamina mid-combat, so you're taking damage. Your party's not optimized very well. So a fight ends, you're like 2/3 of the way there, etc. And you're like, you know what, I need to heal myself. Pull out the food from your inventory, and what happens? It's gone bad in your inventory. While you were fighting, the food went bad for whatever reason. You rested, and it went bad.
Now, see, this is something I've seen a couple of people talk about this on X, on Twitter, about, oh, well, so all the food is going to be perishable. No. I mean, I don't have my hands on the second game yet, of course, so I don't know everything about it, but if it's anything like the first game, not all foods spoil. Not all of them do. Some of them will, like meat from a wolf or from the saurian tail, for example, that kind of stuff, that can spoil, that can rot. But things like the greenwash that heal you, the herbs, those just stay good for forever. And that is not something he mentions. He says like, oh, you get to a cave after a long adventure and now all your food is gone. This is putting off a lot of people because they hear what he's saying. But that's definitely not completely true. Some of it, partially yes, but for the most part, no. Because you got potions, you got those herbs. You got a lot of different options to heal up and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And in the first game as well, you have those containers. So, and I assume in the second game you're going to have that as well. Like a container, and you could put like a perishable food inside that container, and then it will stay fresh for infinity, basically. So.
Overnight, and you didn't check before you left. Now you can't heal yourself, and you're in a really bad spot. This is another mechanic that people don't understand, that things can expire in your inventory, particularly healing items, if you don't use them quickly or manage them properly. So that's another mechanic that you have to be aware of and think about, or you could be in a bad situation. So again, we're out there, we're trying to rescue Jim. We pull out our food, we don't have any to eat, we're health's low, so we don't have any choice. We continue onward, forward. We can't fast travel back to the inn in the town we just came from because we don't have a way to fast travel. So we press onward, and then what happens? It becomes nighttime. At nighttime in Dragon's Dogma, it's really hard to see. Even more and dangerous enemies come out. So now we're like below full health. We're like ways down there in health. We don't have a way to fast travel back. Even more enemies are attacking us. We're really struggling to get to this cave, and we don't really have any choice. We smash our heads trying to get through these enemies for a couple hours, and we finally get to the cave. Well, we get to the cave, we get to the end of it, and where's Jim? Oh, he's dead on the ground because it took us way too long to get to the cave, so he's dead. We failed the quest. We went all the way to that cave. We struggled to get through the enemies because we weren't prepared. Now we're in this cave. Quest's done. Didn't get anything for it, and now what? Oh, well, let's just fast travel. Wait, we can't fast travel back to the inn. We have no way of fast traveling, so now we have to run all the way through the monsters, all the way back to the inn somehow and try and make it there. And that's what your Dragon's Dogma experience can be like if you are not prepared. But wait, I'll just reload and then I'll try it again. Oh wait, the game auto saves, and now you reloaded right next to Jim's corpse. So that didn't work out for you. Now you gotta head all the way back to town. There's nothing else you can do unless you want to start the game over. That is basically the epitome of what happened to me on my first playthrough and why I ended up setting the game down before I eventually fell in love with it later when I came back to it a second time. And
yeah, he's basically telling you about a made up quest that's not even true. It's not even in the game for as far as I'm aware. In the first game, that was supposed to be his experience, which is kind of ridiculous that you're talking about a quest is not even real. I know there are time-sensitive quests in Dragon's Dogma, but if you're gonna give an example, at least have it be accurate, and not some made-up example just for the purpose of your video, right? Because this is really negative, all of this. At least that's how what it sounds like to me. It sounds really negative. I know he's trying to be like informative about like what you can expect, so people won't rage quit when they buy it, right? But I feel like he's being way more negative than he should have been, and should have maybe done a bit more research on the game beforehand, so that he actually knows a bit more about what he's talking about. Like the what I was saying earlier, he was struggling to get out of the first town. How are you struggling? You literally walk 10 meters and you leave the town. It's impossible to struggle there. Impossible. Right? Like, he really should have done some more research on the first game if he wants to use stuff like that, if he wants to say stuff like that. Make sure that's actually accurate. Yeah, he's referring to a quest in Dragon's Dogma 2. Seems to be screaming a lot of negative. Well, it seems like he's talking about the first game, though. Because he's talking about his experience. He said his experience of the first game. He laid it down, and then 5 months later, he picked it back up, right? That's what he said? Or did I misunderstood that?
Up setting the game down before I eventually fell in love with it later when I came back to it a second time. And it can happen to you. And the reason
I believe he's talking about like months later in the first game. I think that's what he's talking about. But maybe I misunderstood that. Could be. It's not quite clear to me. And anyway, it's strange that he is so extremely negative about everything. And doesn't mention, hey, yes, there are perishable items, but yes, there are also potions and herbs that do not perish, that you can use no matter what, right? He only gives the negative stuff, and I think that is that's not a good idea. You should give a little bit of both.
Won't find in a lot of other games, particularly open world RPGs.
Just not a pro gamer like me. True.
Can really catch you off guard and can kind of prevent you from really falling in love with the game. One of the reasons that Dragon's Dogma has become a cult classic is because its fan base have
it seems to be mixing some things up.
Having been through that trial by fire
bit confusing.
And coming out the other side. When you talk to people who love Dragon's Dogma, they've all experienced this. They've all been through it. They all know exactly what it felt like to go what you felt through. And it's a very similar feeling to the Dark Souls community. When you beat Dark Souls, you're with a group of people that went through the same trials and tribulations that you did. And
I don't really get this part of the video either.
Dragon's Dogma has such a tight community.
I mean, yes, Dragon's Dogma has like a cult fan base, right? The people who love it a lot, and the people who don't love it probably haven't played more than an hour of it because they got stuck at the bandits filtering them. But I wouldn't compare it to Dark Souls in any way. I think it's very strange when I see people talk about Dragon's Dogma and Dark Souls, like comparing the two. I mean, yes, it can be a difficult game, especially in the early hours of the game. But Dark Souls and Elden Ring and stuff are way more difficult than Dragon's Dogma has ever been. At least that's my experience.
And
very strange.
The Souls community and Dragon's Dogma community are also pretty tight together because there are similarities in that experience that you just won't find in other games and gaming. So again, you'll notice that I didn't make this into a guide. I didn't tell you, go here, don't go here, do this, don't do this. That's not what the purpose of this video is. We will have a beginner guide later on, close to the launch of the game, that explains exactly what to do to tackle some of these issues to make things easier for you. But this video is just about explaining that there are things that can really...
This video is just about talking shit and being negative the entire time. And then in a week from now, I'm going to be posting a completely super hyped positive video telling you how to negate all these negative issues that I talked about in my previous video. Very smart. It's a businessman move right there. Well done.
in your way because it's such a unique RPG that you need to be aware of. So when you go in, know that these things are going to happen and be prepared for them ahead of time so that you can like come up with a strategy to tackle them if you don't want to watch guides, or even maybe watch some guides on the topics. Again, we're going to have a full list of guides for this. We have a wiki, we're going to have vocation guides, pawn guides, etc.
They do always make good good wikis.
There are issues that you're going to have to tackle.
Extra Life has pretty good wikis.
Like any other RPG out there. So that wraps up our video on how to enjoy Dragon's Dogma 2. The idea here is to bring you awareness of the issues of Dragon's Dogma that you're going to face as a player so that you can start formulating strategies to overcome them. And whether you need help from us, to do that, or whether you want to do it on your own, either is totally fine. But keep in mind, you will have to come up with strategies to tackle these things in order to get the full experience of Dragon's Dogma 2.
Right. Cool. All right, that's basically it. Nice. Yeah, so I just wanted to watch that one. Just comment on some of the things. Very confusing, some of the stuff that he's saying. Like he's like King says, it seems like he's mixing up his experience from the first game and also his experience from the second game, and like putting them together in one story, which is really confusing somehow. But yeah, I definitely feel like he should have been a little bit more positive during that video about things, or giving a bit more information. Like I said earlier, adding the potions and the herbs, letting people know that that is a thing that you can do as well. But I guess that's going to be his next video, is going to be, hey, I told you about how the food sucks in this game and how it's impossible to heal. But also, here are 10 things you can do to heal. That's probably going to be his next video, so stay tuned. Right. Now the IGN's first video preview. Let's go take a look at that one.
When it was released 11 years ago, Dragon's Dogma stood out as a bold open-world RPG that didn't conform to any pre-existing mold for the genre. From its one-of-a-kind pawn mechanic that encouraged you to frequently swap out AI-controlled companions from a network populated by creations from other players, to its action-centric combat that had you climbing all over giant monsters in order to specifically target weak points and bring them down to size. There's nothing quite like it, even to this day. My big takeaway after playing an hour of Dragon's Dogma 2 is that Capcom is doubling down on everything that made Dragon's Dogma so unique, with a big focus on refining and polishing those elements to a shine. And in that regard, they're succeeding. Pawns do pretty much everything that they did in the first game, but their contributions to both combat and navigation are much more immediately noticeable. Melee combat feels more impactful and weighty, and exploration through its now seamless open world feels equal parts rewarding and dangerous. That said, after an hour of killing the same usual Dragon's Dogma rogues gallery of goblins, cyclops, saurians, harpies, bandits, and attempting the occasional griffin, I couldn't help but wish that I experienced something that truly felt new in this sequel.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of the same enemies, unfortunately, but also a couple of new ones.
My demo began right outside the human kingdom of Vermund, and gave me free reign to go wherever I wanted. I had a handful of quests I could follow, with my pawns already set with knowledge of those quests, meaning that I could simply let them lead the way and not have to deal with constantly bringing up the map and making sure that I was still on course. Pawns having experience and knowledge of quests is not new to Dragon's Dogma, and occasionally in the first game, they would lead you through some tricky to follow paths. But here in Dragon's Dogma 2, it was far more reliable. A simple press of left on the D-pad to issue a help command while out of combat was enough for my pawn to understand that I was looking for a trail to follow, and thus they would grab my attention and start leading the way.
Oh, is that what the hand is? That's probably what that hand icon is. Them helping you. Hand holding, basically. Yeah, so you're asking for help, and then that icon is like, hey, this pawn is gonna be helping you.
Once I started running towards them. The coolest interaction that I experienced with a pawn was after having cleared a cave of bandits. I noticed a treasure chest on a platform that was well out of reach. By issuing the help command though, I noticed that my fighter pawn moved herself closer to the platform.
Oh, maybe it's not that
like she was waiting to give me a boost. Sure enough, when
I didn't see the hand on that one right there. So maybe I was wrong about that. A little bit confusing still as to what that hand is supposed to be then.
I ran over, she launched me up with the springboard skill, and I was able to collect a rare fairy stone. Very cool. Combat is largely identical to how it was in the original Dragon's Dogma. You've got a button for light attacks, a button for heavy attacks, and then by holding down the left bumper, you've got a series of 4 skills that you can equip for a variety of attacks and spells. One of the big differences this time around is that the right bumper is now tied to your vocation action, which, as the name implies, is an action unique to your vocation. For fighters, their vocation action is to raise their shield and guard against enemy attacks. For thieves, they've got a quick dodge called Swift Step, and for archers, they're able to directly aim with a steady shot. New to combat is a hit stop effect that occurs.
Wait, what? So it sounds to me like you have less spells then. Because previously there were 2, like left bumper, right bumper, for like a total of 6 skills. Is that less now then? Because he's only talking about the weapon skill. L1, I think.
When enemy you're attacking is low on life, indicating that they're open to an execution by hitting them with the
I thought it was going to be more.
It's a light touch, but it goes a long way in making combat feel much more brutal and impactful. It's worth noting that, like the original game, there's no melee lock-on mechanic and no dodge roll, unless it's tied to your vocation. It's a bold choice, and I have a feeling that not everyone will like it, but it does lend a very particular feel to Dragon's Dogma 2's combat. It's much less about split-second reflexes and fierce aggression, and much more about careful positioning, awareness of where your enemies are, relying on your pawns for support, and knowledge of how to exploit enemy weaknesses. I got to restart the demo several times in the hour or so that I got to play, and the thing that really impressed me was how different each successive run felt. One time I walked down the same beaten path I traversed in a previous session and suddenly got attacked by a griffin. In another, I followed a quest down to a riverbank and got to fight against a handful of saurians that I never saw anywhere else. And in another, I was guided by my pawn to a cave full of surprisingly tough bandits guarding a bunch of treasure and valuable materials, and me and my party got absolutely wrecked. But this encounter excited me because even though I was being guided by a pawn, the exploration still felt organic and made me well aware that the world of Dragon's Dogma 2 was one full of danger and riches in equal measure, which is the heart of great exploration in video games. All that said though, there definitely was a sense of deja vu when playing through this demo. The skills that I used as both a fighter and a thief were almost identical to the early game skills from the first Dragon's Dogma. I didn't fight a single new enemy type, nor did I fight any of those other enemies in a way that was much different from how I'd fight them in the original game. If there's one comfort that I can have as a fan of Dragon's Dogma, it's that Dragon's Dogma 2 will offer up more of what I loved about that first game, and that many of those minor elements have been improved upon. But still, I couldn't help but wish that I walked away from my demo a little more excited about something new about the sequel.
At least they kept the music.
On Dragon's Dogma 2, don't miss the reveal trailer and the gameplay showcase. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
Cool. Yeah, so one thing I'm still a little bit confused about is the weapon skills and the vocation and like abilities and stuff. I tried to look in that last part of the video if I saw any more, but I don't see it right now. But maybe because this is just early game as well. I'm not sure what level he's supposed to be here. Maybe later in the game you'll unlock more, question mark. All right, anyway, now, so this was like the first hour of the game, like the demo for an hour basically. Now we're going to watch a 30-minute video. That's going to be a long one, a long talk about everything after 10 hours of play. That's going to be an interesting one. I have not seen this one, so that should be good.
Saltzman here, alongside Casey DeFreitas from all the way across the country. How you doing, Casey?
I'm good. How are you? Happy to be here.
I'm doing great too. And so I figure what we can do here is tie a little bow on our coverage of Dragon's Dogma 2. We did a gameplay reveal, we've done interviews, we've done a preview, but what we haven't really done is just done a conversation to talk about the 10 hours that we spent at Capcom in Japan playing Dragon's Dogma 2. So Casey, why don't you kick us off? Tell us a little bit about what we played.
I always love when we have the opportunity to do this for previews, where you basically start from the beginning of the game and then you can just play and see how far
This is
you
a
get.
good video, King.
And I think it
You've seen
really
this?
gives you a better sense of what the gameplay loop is going to be like, rather than playing like bits and pieces of the game like chosen for you, you know? And like 10 hours, it's a incredibly long time to be able to get a handle of what the game is. And for Dragon's Dogma 2, we didn't start immediately from the actual beginning, but maybe 10 or 15 minutes into the game. The story starts right off the bat. You have amnesia, you don't know who you are, but you are probably the Arisen because pawns listen to you and you're able to summon your main pawn at the Riftstone right off the bat. So that's kind of where we started. And then you need to go to the city of Vermund to prove you either are or are not the Arisen, but everyone keeps it on the down low. And right off the bat, you meet someone who becomes your kind of connection to the city. I think his name is Brent. And he's the one who introduces you with the quests and with what is going on in the world.
Yeah, and it's kind of like in the
Sir
first
Mercedes
game,
from the first game, basically.
Connection to Brant kind of ties you into the main quest. So every time you want to go do the main quest, you talk to Brant. He has a selection of main quests that you can choose to follow, and it's cool to have that separation of like this
first
is
Sir
clearly the main
Mercedes,
quest,
then
and everything
Maximilian
else is
in front
clearly
of the
side
castle
box.
gates.
One of the things that I think is really impressive,
And then
about Dragon's
Parsifal,
Dogma 2
what's
is
his
how
name?
Everything feels very
I forgot his
natural
name.
and organic.
Like the Hand of the King.
How you get side quests, how
the Duke.
how you explore the world. And we'll talk a little bit more about the improvements, I think, of Dragon's Dogma 2 over the first game from what we've seen. But I want to kind of go back a little bit and just talk a little bit more about the story and how like that initial story hook is so strong. Right from the start, you know what you're doing, you know what the state of the world is. Everything feels a lot more kind of built up right from the start. It's not being built as it goes. You kind of get the full scope of the world right from the beginning.
It's a little blurry.
It kind of grounded me more in the plot of Dragon's Dogma 2, more so than I was in the first
Yeah, wait, need premium for that.
But yeah, I don't know. How'd you feel about that?
No, I feel exactly the same way. I feel like immediately your character is entangled in the geopolitical issues of the world, and you become very aware of what is happening very quickly. And the way they introduce those characters to you does happen naturally as well. The first time you enter the town,
Game
and
looks
you go
so
to the
good.
inn, you leave the inn and
All the
boy runs into you,
NPCs,
and
the
that ends up
clothing.
being very important down the line. And it's just organic things that you might not necessarily think is important, but down the line becomes important. And I thought it was very interesting from the start that they give you these basic adventuring quests that are part of the main quest, like go and cull a bunch of monsters. But then you also have quests that are infiltrate the town's castle to find more about people's political intentions. And I found that really interesting. I also found those quests incredibly challenging as well. But because of that, you know what's going on, you know what your role is in the plot line very early on, and it's a very important one.
I will say that castle quest was probably the one sour spot that I had over the course of this whole play session, just because it's kind of like a stealth mission, and Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't really have any stealth mechanics, so it's the kind of thing where you're supposed to find like a disguise, but Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't really tell you a lot of these things. It's a game that doesn't hold your hand, and I appreciate that a lot about it. It's the kind of game where I like to say
stealth
side quests,
mission, huh?
You don't seek out side quests; they come to you.
I'm probably gonna be bad at that one.
Where you look at your map and it's not.
It's gonna be a
cluttered with all
rage
kinds of
quit
items.
mission.
You're not going from icon to icon to clear out an area. You go in a direction.
Ooh,
Pawn
map.
will point you like, hey, there might be a quest over here. You follow.
I don't think I've
pawn,
ever
you
seen
have,
the
like,
map
your
before.
Own little adventure right there with that pawn.
Excavation
And
sites.
if you're not familiar with
Hold
how
on,
it works
hold on.
in the first game, it's the icon to clear out an area. You go in a direction. A pawn will
All right, up there. It's kind of strange that some of these areas, like this is revealed, this is revealed. How did you get from there to there without connection anywhere?
point you like, hey, there might be a quest over here. You follow the pawn, and you have
and over
like your
there
own
and all the way down there.
adventure right there
It's
with
revealed.
that pawn.
Maybe that's
And if you're
revealed
not familiar with how it
automatically from
works
the
in,
start.
the first game, it basically works the same way.
Certain
Pawns
villages and
are
stuff, or whatever.
these followers that you have, and they basically come from the internet. Every person who plays this game will make their own pawn. Give them a vocation.
Let's see. Rating, quest guide. Yeah, so if they know the quest that you're on, straightforward specialization, level, vocation, pawn quest, huh? There's pawn quests. Okay. Interesting. Haven't heard anything about that. Not sure what that's supposed to be. Not set reward. Okay. I've not heard anything about that, so I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Maybe it could be something like I tell my pawn that they need to gather something, and then when somebody hires my pawn, they can do the quest for me? Question mark? I'm not sure. I don't know what that is supposed to be, but that's kind of what it maybe could be. Probably not. It probably is not anything like what I just said. Maybe it's just a normal main quest, side quest thing, but we'll see.
Location, give him a couple of different traits, and then you up.
Ooh, let's see. All the stats, vocation, pawn, health, stamina, condition, moniker. Yeah, all the good stuff. All right. Maximum encumbrance, 20. All right, maximum encumbrance is good to know. I don't think that was in the base game, in the original. You couldn't really see... Well, I guess you could see it on the bar, like turning red. Like when you hit that level, right? But not in the, like, status area. Knockdown. Knockdown power. Knockdown resistance. I believe that was in the first game as well, wasn't it? I think so. At least on armor, I think it said that. Yeah, knockdown stuff. Slash resistance, strike resistance. Elements. Don't really see anything new here other than the encumbrance.
Upload that to like this network and other.
Vocation. Oh, these are the different vocation ranks that your pawn has learned. Yeah, so right now the pawn is a mage. Well, this is one of the pawns from the Rift. Yeah, you can see all their ranks on the different vocations. Alright, cool, cool. Oh yeah, and this is something I forgot about. Core skills. The mages... In the original game, the mage needed to have their healing spell, Anodyne, equipped as one of their like main abilities, right? So you needed to sacrifice a damaging spell for Anodyne. But in this game, it's going to be a core skill, which I believe you can do with like right click or whatever, or well, something else on oh, probably R1 on controller then. So that's going to be really cool. So you don't have to sacrifice a damaging spell for it anymore. That is really awesome, actually. I forgot about that. I heard that a little while ago. So that's why there's not many spells now, because some of them are core skills. Yeah, some of them are core skills now as well. So maybe that is one of the reasons, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong about
that can then go to a Rift Crystal or Rift
whether or not there are more or less skills.
And they can hire pawns from other players, bring them into their party, and those pawns take the experiences that they had from the their home game. So if they have experience with a quest, they'll be able to tell you.
That was really
hey,
quick.
Like, I've done this quest.
There was no loading
there's
screen
a shortcut
there.
Over here, or
it could have been cut footage.
There's a person we need to talk to that's this way. Follow me, and then you just follow them, and it works. And it works actually, I think, a lot better than it did in the previous game. But I was just very impressed by how well the pawn system worked in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, I really appreciated the pawn system as well. I thought I like this in the original Dragon's Dogma as well, but like you said, I feel like it works even better in Dragon's Dogma 2, and I feel like there's more customization to the pawns. There's like more
definitely more customization
overall than there was in the original Dragon's Dogma. But anyway, I really
at
prefer
least for the
way this game
physique.
handles getting you from point A to point B versus a lot of other games. You're not following an icon on the map. You're not following a unnatural line. It's either you bring up your map and you look at it and it's like, all right, it's northwest, I guess I'll figure it out, or you find a pawn that already knows what they're doing, and the pawn system allows you to sort,
or you look at the
based on if
mini map.
pawn knows
Oh, hold
anything
on,
about
hold
this.
on. Let's see, this is pawn screen. We haven't seen that one yet. Pawn badges, pawn quest, pawn badges. See, I feel like there might be specific quests that your pawn can get, and you can earn badges, maybe, with that. And I want to look back as well, because they showed... No, where was it? Here. They showed some more skills. Flagration... 11, because this is probably fire, I'm guessing. I think that's going to be the fire casting spell that like spews fire forward. 11 is obviously the electricity, the lightning. Palladium, that's a shield icon. Probably just shield your allies. Gives them more defense, maybe. Magic bolt, just shooting multiple bolts. Quick spell, just quickly casting spells, I guess. 15% faster, most likely. I would assume. I'd assume, yeah. Anodyne, the healing one, of course. An augment. Epropesium. I'm not sure what that one is. I don't know all the augments in the original game anyway, so it might be a new one, might be an old one, I don't know.
That you are currently on, which I found very helpful.
One other thing about the pawn system is that you can, give them a vocation, and I wanted to kind of go into the vocation system in this game, because we did experience that differently. Because I ended up playing as warrior, fighter, and sorcerer, and you spent the entirety of your time playing as a thief. And so, because none of our coverage really covered the thief, I really wanted to dive into your thoughts on the thief as a class and what you thought about it.
I really enjoyed the thief. So in the original Dragon's Dogma, I played as a strider, which allowed you to use both the bow and arrow and
quick spell allows you to cast spells quicker at the cost of some damage. Oh, okay. So, but that is a core skill, so it's not something you can switch out like an augment, probably, unless in the second game it is possible to switch out core spells, core abilities. But in the first game, you just bought all the core skills and you had them forever, right? Like you didn't have to do anything else with them. So that's interesting then.
I wanted to say dual blades, but daggers, two daggers. And in Dragon's Dogma 2, they split that class into both the archer and the thief, because I think there was a quote that they said that class was a little bit too strong for a base starting class. There is another class, Mystic Spearhand, that you'll be able to unlock eventually that does have long range and close range capabilities, but I guess for a base class, they wanted to make it a little bit more basic. But I still felt very capable immediately from the get-go. You're immediately given core skills that are already on your map, so they are on your face buttons rather. And I felt able to go in and out of combat very agilely, very quickly, and I felt I felt like a rogue. Like it was that's just how it is. And you eventually unlock.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, you already have an ability from the get-go called Twin Daggers, which if you sneak up or if a enemy does not perceive you and you hit them with that attack, it does more damage. That's very rogue-like, right? Very thief-like. And then you unlock additional skills for one that lets you kind of like cover yourself in mud and lower your enemy's ability to perceive you, which makes it easier to get that extra damage bonus from sneaking up on them with the twin daggers. And it became very, it reminded me of what I would do as a rogue in a D&D campaign, where I would do that move to kind of cover me, and then trying to sneak up behind the group of enemies while the rest of my party engage them in combat, so I can get off those sneak attacks. And it was a really fun class the whole time. It works a little bit differently.
It's like a blob down there.
Strider, I assume
what is that creature?
Everyone else did this, but I kind of really abused the Helm Splitter attack, which deals more damage if you are attacking from above. But the move
it's
this
like a
time
weird
around
blob.
works a little bit differently, where it launches you really
Didn't really
high up
seem
into
to
the
do
air.
much.
So if you're attacking something that's smaller, you're not getting all of the hits off, so you can't really rely on that one move to deal your damage the way I did in the original Dragon's Dogma. But this encourages you to experiment with other moves and new moves, and there's so much to choose from, and there's a lot of options and a lot of customizability, even just for the thief.
And every vocation now has a vocational ability that's tied to them.
Yes.
So what's unique about the thief is that they are the only class that I've seen so far that actually has a dodge button.
It's the quick step.
Right, they have a quick step. And I don't know if it has iframes, but even if it doesn't, just the ability to quickly get out of the way of attacks is a huge benefit to that class. Because if you want to get out of the way real quickly of something as a warrior, you basically have to just start a sprint. And it's tough. But yeah, so to kind of talk about the vocations I played, Fighter felt probably the most similar to everything else that or to how the Fighter was in the first game. The big thing about the Fighter is that they are the only class that has a shield. At least, again, as far as I know so far. So you
only class that has a shield? Okay. Yeah, because in the original game you had the assassin, but the assassin has been taken out of this game. There's no assassin and there's no mystic knight anymore. Both those classes are gone, those hybrid classes. The assassin had a sword and shield combo, and the mystic knight obviously had the mystic shield and sword or mace combo. So yeah, those are both out of the game. So now you only have to fighter it with a shield, apparently.
Parry attacks.
Or, well, if you're a wayfarer, you can probably use a shield.
They have very, very strong melee capabilities. There's a new system in the game where if you basically stun an enemy with repeated melee attacks, you open them up to an execution.
It's really blurry, this footage.
Just instantly kills them. I believe it also gives you some invulnerability while you're in the middle of the execution animation. It's like this really good hit stop effect. It feels really good. And then you have the warrior. The warrior was, I know, there was a lot of people talking about my warrior gameplay and how it wasn't very good. For the record, that was very early game warrior gameplay. I didn't have a lot of skills. There's some footage later on that hopefully I can cut in some B-roll of right now. But the big thing about the warrior, to prove that I'm not that bad at this game.
Yeah, you are bad.
The warrior, I think the really cool thing about this class is that, yes, it's a class that's focused on slow hits or charged up.
You're not going to be fast as a warrior.
That you can kind of just, bully through light attacks and just, take a few to do one big shot of your own.
Slow hits, but strong.
The new thing about it is that there's an ability you get much later in the vocation that allows you to time button presses with your attacks. And so if you time an attack press just as your attack hits, you'll instantly go into your next attack. And you can keep that chain going.
Oh, nice.
Like you're just cutting through things like this.
Timed combo for more damage, more quickly, basically.
Because,
improved DPS.
That's all about big damage but slow attack.
That is huge, yeah.
A skill that lets them, negate some of that disadvantage if
you can time that properly.
Properly time those attacks, and it felt really good. I was cutting through some bosses, and yeah, I love the warrior class. One of the things I always say about Dragon's Dogma 2, or Dragon's Dogma vocations, excuse me, is that they are kind of the peak fantasy of these well-known archetypes. So,
jeez, can't see anything.
The warrior is the peak fantasy of that gut
So much happening.
character that has a great sword. It's just like charging it up for like 10 seconds, and then he releases it, and just it's like an explosion happens without any kind of fire or explosion effects. Just it feels that powerful when you hit it. And then you have the sorcerer who charges up a spell for like 25 seconds, and when you release that spell, it looks like a spell you charged up for 20 something seconds. And then you have the thief who is darting back and forth, doing these really quick attacks, gets extra damage for like dealing damage to the back. It's just really strong. It's a really strong class system, and one of the best I've played in open world RPG.
And I do especially appreciate the vocation system as well, because you can freely change your vocations, which is fantastic. I feel like usually I'm like sweating when I'm choosing my original vocation or class or whatever in games, because it's like, oh, this is it. This is all I'm going to get. But in Dragon's Dogma, you can always be like, you know what? I'm kind of tired of being a thief. I'm going to be a mage, and then go and change your vocation. And of course, you have to build up those points and levels again to make your mage class as strong as your thief class was. But it's still a very doable endeavor. I'm thinking of like Final Fantasy XIV that also allows you to kind of master everything if you wanted to. It's not quite that intensive.
Yeah. One other thing that I think we should clarify, you have those 4 base classes, and then you have the advanced versions of those classes. But the way you get those advanced versions of those classes is not by leveling up the base class. You actually get a quest that sends you to find the weapon of that class, and you bring it back to the vocation master, basically, and then you unlock.
Right, yeah. You have to interact with the vocation master and improve your like relationship, your friendship level with those maesters, and then they will actually allow you to become that vocation and teach you new spells and abilities and stuff.
I don't know if that's the case for everything. We only got to unlock the warrior and sorcerer vocations in our playtime. The trickster was a special build that they just teleported us to, basically.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
That was a very
exactly...
high level.
Yeah.
I think it was maxed out. We got to play the maxed out trickster.
I don't know if every single thing was maxed out. We had like the highest versions of the skills that we had equipped. So like the move that sends out a fog that gets you aggro.
Suffocating Shroud.
Suffocating Shroud. That probably had like the max range on it. When you first start off with the trickster, that might not have as wide a radius. We don't exactly know how all the other vocations will be unlocked. If they are the same as the warrior and sorcerer, it seems like you do a quest, you bring back a weapon to the vocation master, and then you unlock the vocation. We didn't get to play any Mystic Spearhand, which was a bummer for me, but we did get a good quote from Itsuno-san that basically was saying that the class is, they like to call it Akuma balancing at Capcom, where it's focused on dealing big damage, but at the expense of taking a lot, or like having very little, life. It's basically a glass cannon build. And I'm very excited for that one. That's probably the one I'm gonna, try out when I first get my hands.
Yeah, because it probably does a lot of magic damage. I think the spear hand, and of course I don't know for sure, but it's probably gonna be very similar as the Mystic Knight, except less defense probably. Because you got to be more quick on your feet as a spear hand, from what I've seen, right? And it's going to be very magic based, likely as well. So, of course, you do have your physical attacks, but I think magic is going to be very important. So, you're probably going to want to go a little bit of fighter class, a little bit of mage class, or sorcerer, and then you probably want to head into the spear hand, so that you have higher levels of like your magical power and stuff, because that will be increased, right? Most likely, if they do it the same as in the original anyway.
I had a Blade Song wizard character in D&D, and it kind of looks like it plays like a Mystic Spear hand. So I'm very curious and checking out what that feels like in a game.
Moving on from vocations, I wanted to double back a little bit about the exploration, because as we talked about, I feel like there are two schools of open world design. You've got the Assassin's Creed style of design where you just put everything on a map, and
that is a big one.
The player gets to
Looks
go
big
to every
anyway,
marker and
from that
feel like,
perspective.
okay, I've done everything in this area. I've crossed off all the side quests. I've
pretty cool
done
spell.
all the minor collectibles. I can move on to something else. And then there's kind of this emerging school of like Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild, where the map is pretty barren, and it's on you to kind of fill in the markers as you.
Oh wait, hold on. I think I saw the quick spell in action just a second ago. Hey there, Willow. So, well, I don't know if you guys can see it with my webcam there. Let's move it up there. But the quick spell is on the R1 button right there. And I think you have to like press the quick spell first and then the weapon skill and do the ability that you choose to like cast it quickly.
There are two schools of open world design. You've got the Assassin's Creed style of design where you just put everything on a map.
I'm not sure if he did it. It seemed like he was using
The player
it.
gets to go to every marker and feel like, okay, I've done everything in this area. I've crossed off all the side quests.
Yeah, I feel like he did that. I think that was the quick spell.
Collectibles. I can move on to something else.
Could be wrong though.
And then there's kind of this emerging school of like Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild, where the map is pretty barren, and it's on you to kind of fill in the markers as you find stuff. And Dragon's Dogma definitely goes more towards the new school of like Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild, but also it adds kind of its own little spin to it, because there's very limited fast travel in this game.
Is that a frost spell?
Casey, what do you think about how the distance works in this game, and how how much you have to work to get from point A to point B?
I found it so interesting
exploring.
How much the developers emphasize
A lot
the
of running
importance of distance in their game whenever they talk to us. I think their first introduction, they talked to us about how they want us to feel the difficulties of long distance relationships, or like getting to, like, do you want to go, I think one of the things they said, like, do you want to go to a restaurant that's closer to you is not as good, or do you want to spend the extra time or money getting to a place that's really good, and if that will be worth it to you. And their goal was to make the travel worth it despite the cost or risk, as you said, Mitchell.
That is a lot
get there.
That's the problem that a lot of games have, is you go to like a high level area, you travel for a very long time in terms of what is a long time relative to like the game and stuff, but it takes like a long time to get there, and then the loot from the chest is a basic sword, right? Like, think about Enshrouded. Sometimes you get a really good weapon, sometimes, but it's really RNG. And sometimes you just get a basic common sword with nothing good at all like attached to it. Like no good augments or whatever that you can get at the NPC. So yeah, I'm really hoping that indeed, and I mean, based on the first game, I have complete trust in the developers that this game is going to be amazing in terms of that kind of stuff for sure. I 100% believe that they did good. But we'll see.
And I definitely felt that a lot, the cost and or risk, because as you said, fast travel is incredibly limited. So in order to do fast travel, you both need to have activated a port crystal, which are very limited and generally only in very large towns. And while we were playing, I had only
activated. You found that Nightingale most of the time, risk reward
back
was
to that port crystal in those towns. You need
so
a fairy
off
stone,
balance.
and fairy stones are
I lost interest in Nightingale. I thought Nightingale was gonna be a great game, but it took so long to get stuff done, and it just did not get interesting enough for me. So
extraordinarily expensive and very rare. So it is a very real decision when you're like, wow, like I am out in the wilderness and I desperately need to go to an inn, or and really my equipment is not good for this area, or like so many different things. Because when you're out in the wilderness, the only way to rest is at a campsite, but you can't do that without a camp pack either, which is also a very expensive resource you don't generally find a lot of. Yeah, they're so heavy. Oh my god, you just like brought back I spent so much time doing inventory management because I didn't realize how heavy those camp packs are. So there are real detriments to
camp packs, okay,
bringing resources with you so that
you need camp packs to be able to spend the night at like a random campfire somewhere.
Make your decisions very carefully when you're traveling and try to plan out your specific goals, which is really hard to do because as you're traveling, the world has so much in it, and I kept getting so distracted. It took so long for
one of the things I really hope they have as well is like a shared storage system, just like the first one had, right? Where you go to an inn, you store your items, and then you can get those items from a different NPC on the other side of the map, basically, right? I really hope they have the same shared storage. Because otherwise, this game is going to be a pain in the butt with it being 4 times bigger, right? And like she says, there's so many items that you're going to be finding. So I really hope you can just easily store it away, pick it back up somewhere else when you need it.
For me to get from point A to point B, because I was like, oh, what's this? What's that? And discovering chests and fighting monsters. And it wasn't
gold.
So much that it was
withered
exhausting,
branches,
but it was enough to keep me very interested. It's the kind of
mining
game
deposits,
I feel like
copper,
I could play
right,
for many hours. And if you look at the game progress, it looks like it didn't make a lot of progress, but I had a lot of fun doing it.
The game looks so good.
When I think of Dragon's Dogma and the sequel, the word that comes to mind is bold. There are a lot of bold decisions that Itsuno-san is making for this game. One of them is fast travel. You know, and I see his vision. Like, I definitely understand that he wants you to really feel the distance that you are traveling. He wants you to feel that reward of going from one area to another area, and you know the satisfaction of like you just
ferry stones are back,
hell to get here, and it matters because you didn't just go to one spot.
I knew that already.
Realize you were out of supplies and jump back to town, resupply, jump back, and then take another leg of the journey, or so to speak. It's a marathon. You really have to make sure that you are well prepared for any kind of expedition.
Yeah. So in my playthrough that I'm doing right now of the original game, we have that eternal ferry stone, right? The one that we can just keep using throughout the entirety of the game. I believe that one was given to everybody with the Dark Arisen DLC automatically, I believe. Or maybe at a later date during an update. Just because, the game was finished. They just wanted to give something to the players to make it easier, I guess. I don't know why. But originally, when I played the game the first time on PlayStation 3, I believe, the Eternal Fairy Stone was not existent. It was not there. So you had to either buy fairy stones or find them, and you really did have to travel a lot on foot, a lot more. Because right now in my playthrough, whenever I need to go somewhere, I put a port crystal in this place, port crystal in that place, and I can just fairy stone my way across the map whenever I need to. But that is only, with the Dark Arisen DLC, I believe, as well, King. That was not a thing in the beginning. You really did have to travel a lot more. And that is something that we're going to experience in this game, because you're not going to get an Eternal Fairy Stone, probably. At least not early in the game, I would suspect. Maybe as a late game item, that'll be cool. Like, if you've completed the cycle once, maybe you would get an Eternal Stone. I'll be down for that. that would make me happy, right? Like the first time around, I don't need an eternal fairy stone. I want to experience the game. I want to find hidden places, right? So you're gonna want to explore a little bit more. But for a second playthrough, for like the second cycle after you've completed the main game and you do it all again, it would be really cool if you do get an eternal fairy stone from defeating the Sentinel again, right? That'll be a very good end game reward after beating the Sentinel, after restarting the cycle. I think that would be really cool. Okay, before we continue, I apologize, but I really do have to go to the bathroom. So I'll be right back, and then we are going to continue watching all of this. And a couple more videos after that. Alrighty. Yeah, I think it would be really good for an end game reward. An eternal fairy stone or of some kind. I think it'll be really cool. Now, something that I'm wondering as well is, of course, there's going to be a lot of the same monsters, a lot of the same creatures as in the first game, right? They did mention that as well. What I wonder is, are they gonna add the Dark Arisen creatures as well? Or is it only gonna be the creatures from like the main game that you see? That's what I wonder. Like, are they gonna include death, for example? Probably not. I would assume that death is not going to be a part of this game. But just bigger, stronger creatures like the larger zombies, the big skeleton dudes, you know, just stronger versions of the original monsters. I wonder if they're going to add those again to it. All right, continue.
Walls, and it's a real powerful feeling. That said, there are going to be people, I guarantee you, there are going to be people that are not going to be happy with the fact that they took maybe a 20-minute journey outside the city walls, fought a ogre, and like their life is like this much because
yeah,
of that incredible battle.
That's going to happen a lot.
You know, huff it back to town to you know, get their life back up.
Yep.
So I wanted to bring up real quick, now that you're talking about health, the loss gauge mechanic, which kind of makes Dragon's Dogma 2 a little bit of a survival game as well, because of all of the reasons we were just talking about, but because of every time you take damage or die, your health, you lose your maximum health bar goes down. So even if you have all of the herbs and potions and health restoratives in the world, you can't get back up to max health until you do a long rest.
Right, like the white bar of health. Yeah, okay, that's what they mean. Yeah, so in the original, of course, when you take damage, it doesn't show right now, but like if you take damage a little bit recently, you'll see like a white bar of health, or well, what used to be health, and then you see the green bar like here, right? Like a green bar here, white bar up until here, for example. And the healer can heal you for up until that white bar. But I believe if you wait too long, I'm not sure, but I believe if you wait too long with healing it, then you are no longer able to restore it with with like the mage's heal, for example. So they're gonna need actual health potions to increase your max health again.
And
it's scary.
Well, and then there's like the campfire mechanic that allows you to gain that health back, but that again, we talked about cost and risk. It comes with a risk, because if you keep on going to the same campfire, you are going to attract the attention of monsters.
Oh.
So you will wake up and, you know, a griffin might drop down on you, and then you gotta deal with a griffin.
Interesting.
And, you can try to just run away from it, but, you know, that's not always the easiest thing to do.
And I love that they do it, because I keep making comparisons and parallels to D&D. I'm sorry, I just really like Dungeons and Dragons, but that is exactly what my DM would do to get you to move on. It's like, you can't stay here and keep long resting, just continue, like go to the next spot, like get out of here in a very organic way that doesn't just, it feels so much better to deal with organic consequences than be like, oh, if you use the campfire too many times, you won't be able to use it again. Just the artificial.
It just said health items and put it back up, except for Cam. I didn't hear them say that exactly.
Disruption. The organic one feels a lot better.
But I think, you know, in the end, it is one of those things that is kind of a, you know, what you lose and what you gain from that decision. I think you gain a lot from the decision of having a limited fast travel system and having to make those tough decisions of, you know, whether you should use a fairy stone to, you know, go back to save the trouble of having to, you know, walk for 20 minutes to get back to a town. Because again, there's a lot of power in the satisfaction that you get of making one of those successful expeditions and making progress that really wouldn't be there quite as strongly if there were a checkpoint that you could use to get back to town. So the big question, and I kind of ended my preview with this, is that will that power still be there 50 hours into the game and I'm still doing all this? So I hope at some point there is an eternal fairy stone that you can get. It's kind of like the thought of like putting in your hours and getting the reward of like, okay, you did all of the back and forth, you did all this, you know, organic exploration. Here's your reward. You can go the rest of the way with, you know.
Yeah, they should definitely give it after like beating the game like a first time.
So I talked about this in my preview too. I enjoyed just about every minute that I played of this game. Except for that one mission that we talked about where you're infiltrating the castle.
that mission made me feel like an idiot. Like, I had the disguise and I made it all the way through and I misunderstood what the character told me. I guess I was supposed to jump out of a window and I just opened the door and they're still there. The guards are there and they're like, it's you. I got murdered and thrown into, not murdered, but I got beat and thrown into the prison because I was a moron. So thank you for that, Dragon's Dogma too.
One other thing that I wanted to talk about before we move on to like the Trickster and the Sphinx is the Jadeite Orb quest that we both experienced. Casey, can you tell us a little bit about what that quest was for you?
Yeah, so as we've talked before, the side quests come up in Dragon's Dogma 2 so organically. You don't see icons above the heads of NPCs that have a quest for you. You either like go to a shop and talk to someone and they happen to have a quest for you, or because of course you're going to talk to the shopkeep, so it's a very natural place to put, or you're walking through the town and someone comes up to you and are like, hey, did you know you're being stalked? And now you have a quest to find your stalker. And in this particular instance, I got to a town and talked to someone and they told me they tasked someone to collect an item for them and now they're missing and they want me to find that person to get the item for them, and that person's there's gonna be consequences for them if I turn them in like this. And I get this quest and then a little bit of time passes by and I meet someone new and it happens to be the guy who's missing with the item, but he actually also lost the item. So now he wants me to go find the item for him, but he did have nefarious intentions with it. He was going to sell it and run away with the profits and not tell his employer. So now you're kind of left with the decision, like, who do you help? What do you do? And the interesting thing about the side quest as well is the game doesn't tell you where to go or what to do and how to get this item. You just have to figure it out for yourself, or you have to go find a pawn that's done it before. And I just find it very interesting whenever games give you choices like that.
So no side,
Let's really quickly
so
touch
no
upon the trickster.
quest markers for that kind of stuff. So maybe the main quest line has a quest marker, but everything else doesn't? Question mark? Seems like it, because I definitely see some marked stuff on the mini map.
This is a class I did a whole explainer video on. Casey, what are your thoughts on the trickster class?
Man, the trickster class I feel like it does have an incredibly high skill ceiling. So the trickster class, you're not actually dealing damage with it. I do implore everyone to go and watch Mitchell's excellent trickster breakdown video to really understand how the class works. But basically it's about not dealing damage yourself, and instead of controlling the battlefield. You're strategician, I think it's the word. You're just strategizing.
You're a person who strategizes.
Yeah, you're a person who strategizes. You're pulling aggro. You are creating illusions. You are trying to direct the flow of battle and buffing your party,
having them jump off the edge,
trying to take the attention off of them, while also doing things that disrupt things. So you have this one skill. It's called Dragon's Delusion, which is probably seemed very powerful. I used it against another monster that was just as big as the illusion. I don't think I'm allowed to tell you what it is because I wasn't allowed to show that footage, but it worked to great effect and knocked it back, even though it's just an illusion, which gave my party a huge advantage. Because you've played Dragon's Dogma, if you knock down a large creature, you get a lot of free hits off of it, and it can be a very powerful tool.
For sure.
The other thing you want to do with the trickster is put down illusions of floor over the edge of a cliff and try and get them to attack your simulacrum that you put there. And so you're not directly dealing damage, you're just making them jump off a cliff. So you don't even have to fight them.
Yeah. It's a really
Astral
cool class.
projection.
It's probably the class I'm most curious about, especially late game, and dealing with bosses, because a lot of it relies on messing with AI, like the enemy AI, to get it to do something silly,
and the terrain,
and getting it to jump off terrain. I'm very curious if you'll be able to do crazy things with it to like one-shot a boss that otherwise is really, really tough. But it requires like a lot of setup and a lot of things going your way. But yeah, that's all going to be stuff that we're going to have to experiment for ourselves with. And then we got to show the Sphinx. What did you think of the Sphinx monster and all the little riddles that it had?
Man, I want to comment on the Sphinx design real quick. I love really the design of the Sphinx. When you first meet her, she occasionally makes expressions that are pleasant and attractive, and then sometimes she makes these smiles that are just not human. And I think that just speaks to that she is, I know she's right behind you, she's really creepy, but I love the way they incorporated design elements from a lot of the different mythological
was she big
like cultures come from. Like you have like Egyptian and you have Greek, and there are different tellings of what the Sphinx looks like and what
basically
they
a
do,
griffin.
and kind of like pull that all together into
Griffin
the visual design of the
size.
monster, and I find her very intriguing and
slightly larger
and
maybe.
And then talking to her is just such an experience. She gives you riddles, and the interesting thing with this is it's a one-time thing. If you mess up and give the wrong answer, like you don't have the opportunity to do it again.
Yeah,
as far
really,
as
really important thing that we haven't even touched upon. There is no manual save in Dragon's Dogma 2, or like there's no like you can't just like everything is autosave basically. So there's no like multiple saves that you can make. Like, oh, I'm about to make a decision with the Sphinx, I'm gonna save and see how it goes.
There's one save state.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You cannot control. Yeah, you can't turn off autosave. I'm terrified of this. I'm on the guides team. I mean, you are too now, Mitchell, right? But yeah, I hate this. I love it as a player, but as a guide writer, I'm very scared.
Yeah. As a gamer, I love that it auto saves in games, but it has been making my job as well a little more difficult because I want to make more guides in different games. But whenever a game has autosave like Dragon's Dogma has, it makes things very difficult because then you basically have to redo the entire game to get to that point again, to record that footage again if you lost it somehow, or it's just not the right footage for some reason. Like you looked the other way instead of the way you were supposed to look at, and now you won't be able to encounter that ever again. Like that kind of stuff. That's that's sad. that is one of the things I dislike about it. But it's very helpful most of the time, of course.
Once again, bold. It's a bold it's a bold choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say fighting the Sphinx was also a really fun and unique experience, and I'm sure there's more to that fight than what I saw. I'm sure there's got to be an item somewhere that weakens her. I just didn't have it in my inventory, I think.
All right, well, I think that kind of covers everything that we really saw during our 10 hours of Dragon's Dogma 2. Casey, thank you so much for joining us.
This was a good video.
You were the MVP of this this trip. Like you really helped out so much with the character creation.
Yep. This was a good one. Learned a couple of new things. Very good one. All right, cool. Let's continue then. So here we have another 11 minutes of gameplay. There's not going to be any narration, I think. This one is another 18 minutes. And then, what is this one? This was another 5-minute gameplay. I might not do the 5-minute one because I think I've seen that one already. And it's a little bit of an older one, right? 9 days? Oh, it's not that old, actually. This is actually an older one. 2 months ago. This one is 10 days. All right, let's do this one first. Just go take a look at it. Just gameplay. This video is a lot louder. Banner Griffin. It looks amazing. It's really good. So much more detailed. You like the Trickster, King? The more you see of it, the more fun he looks. Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty interesting, but not for a first playthrough. The Trickster is probably going to be one of those that you're going to be playing. Let's lower the audio a little bit, for me at least. The Trickster is probably going to be one of those that you're going to be on like a second playthrough. After you know the game. After you know what to do. And then it can be more of a like support type role that the Trickster is. Wakestones are back, luckily.
I found a treasure chest near here during my travels beyond.
And then he big.
May I show you to its location?
The Cyclops seems much taller in this game. I mean, the Cyclops was always pretty big in the original, but he seems a bit taller. His belly, especially. Seems stretched out. Yeah, he's pretty big. Grabbing large foes in battle. Oh, stuck in the wall. A little bit awkward. Look at him. Hilarious. Wait, you got another health bar? I thought he died. I guess this is his last health bar. Is it like a full melee party? Oh no, I see a sorcerer in there as well, I think. Oh yeah, and a mage. Oh, they have like an NPC dude that's helping them out as well. They have like another knight helping them out. I saw so many like melee fighters all of a sudden. But yeah, they have an extra dude there.
I wonder why. Each to their own.
Ooh, fighting another griffin. I do like fights against big creatures like that. Oh yeah, teleporting up its back. Well, didn't really work, but... little... Where'd the pawns go? Oh, there he is. There's a pawn. So the Griffin seems a lot more aggressive in this game. Like he doesn't fly away as much. From the footage that I've seen anyway. In the first game he flies away really often. Like they'll try to grab a cow from the field in the first game, and then like immediately they try to fly away to their nest, basically. But here, I mean, this time they're fighting in the nest, so obviously he's not going to be able to fly away to the nest. But from the footage that I've seen, they don't really try to fly away at all. A lot less, at least. But maybe when you actually play the game, you'll experience that more often. Ew, we got some burned chicken. Some grilled chicken. They don't seem to do that much damage, honestly. Either the Griffin is much stronger, much more health, or they are quite weak. Maybe like level 20 or something. If I would have to guess. Oh. Got him. Can't really see what's happening. Loss gauge. Right. Yeah, loss gauge is the white bar thing, of course. Talked about that before. Oh, you still alive? Jesus. They almost got him. 1 health left. 1 health bar. And now they're down to the last one. They need to burn its wings so it doesn't fly away. Yeah, there you go. Burn its wings. Good job, Mally. Mally and whatever the other one was. There you go. Level 22. Hey, I was right. Like level 20. Oh, nice. Here you can see what they earned. So yeah, they got, or what their stat increase was. Strength 3, magic 2, defense 5, magic defense 4. No, oh, encumbrance can also increase. So it looks like depending on your level and vocation, you can improve your maximum encumbrance as well. Interesting. Stamina, health, all right, nice. I would assume that encumbrance is based off of how many levels though, not vocation. Maybe. So like every 5 levels you'll get like extra encumbrance limit or whatever. Maybe. That'll make sense to me. Oh, vocation rank up. Another griffin fight. I do like these. They're pretty cool. But an arrow is chasing the griffin. Oh wait, no, the arrow is chasing... It's chasing the Arisen. Something that's chasing them. Okay. I don't like the arrow, like, webcam thing. The arrow cam. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. I really like the vocation, it looks good, but I'm not a big fan of the cam following it. And like controlling the arrow. Not a big fan of that. It's a cool idea, but I'd much rather just be in control of my character. Because I feel like you might die while controlling the arrow, you know what I mean? Like other enemies will attack you during that time. I feel like this is a better party with the magic archer using the fire blast arrows, the flame fang arrows, what they're called. Flame fang arrows. Yeah, they're doing good damage on this one. Almost down to the last health bar. Nice. Fire, good job. Keep its wings ablaze. Oh. Gotta do another fire. Good job. Yep, and it's falling down. No, it's not falling down. It died. It died. You got him. Good job. What's that gonna be? Cyclops? Ogre? Oh! Minotaur? It's hard to see. Oh yeah, no, that's a Minotaur probably. Or not? What is that? It's probably a Minotaur. It looks more like a big wolf. It's too dark. Can't really see it. Please fight it in the light. Reviving Emma. Wait, that took a long time. Can you not revive pawns instantly anymore? So in the first game you could revive them instantly, just interacting with them. Yeah. Trying to revive Emma. Alright, yeah, that took a while. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be the Minotaur. It's a bit dark, unfortunately. Would have loved to see that fight in the daylight. Alright. And they got him. One more big attack and done. Oh no, 2 more big attacks. Yeah, they got him. Yep, nice. Good job. That's pretty cool. Good stuff. Alright, now 18 minutes of gameplay. Fighter, Thief, Warrior, Sorcerer.
This
Watch
month's
some more of
IGN
that.
First is Dragon's Dogma 2. All throughout the month of January, we've got
No
brand
captions.
new gameplay, interviews, deep dives, impressions, exciting reveals, and more. We got to play about 10 hours of the game, so we've got plenty of ground to cover. To kick things off, here's a collection of gameplay clips covering footage of the Fighter, Thief, Warrior, and Sorcerer vocations. Make sure to keep an eye on this space for more Dragon's Dogma 2 all throughout the month.
Guys, this is probably not going to feature anything new per se. Probably old clips. Or older clips. What was this? Yeah, from 2 months ago.
I could have done no better.
I want to watch it anyway. Might see some stuff that we missed. Vocation rank up. We haven't seen any interactions with like in the cities and stuff. Like buying items, learning skills, switching to vocations. Like that kind of stuff we haven't really seen anywhere. Because I know or like enhancing your gear, for example. Because I know that they said that they simplified the armor enhancements and stuff, and buying weapons and armor, I believe. They simplified it somehow, but they haven't specified how exactly. I would really like to know more about that stuff. But we're probably not going to see that in this one, or in any of the other videos. It's probably something they keep secret until the release. Unfortunately.
What's this? We're trapped.
Alright, here's the Cyclops. Yeah. You've seen clips of this footage like a million times. With the water from the dam.
Fine! A Cyclops! To think we'd encounter one here of all places.
Yeah, there you go. Explosive barrel. On the rocks there. Looks really good though. The water rushing through looks a little bit strange. That did not look too good, to be honest.
Do not waste this chance.
He's not dead yet, apparently.
Let us finish this.
He was knocked out temporarily. Climbing to its head. Ooh, fire from both sides. Cool. They should have done electricity though. Cyclopses are weak to lightning. Oh, there you go. 11. Yep. Does some good damage. Cast those 11s, mages. Come on. You can do it. Cast that 11. Oh, here we go. Here we see some storage. Or, well, inventory. Yeah, the different tabs. Overall, looks like. Potions. Tools. Minerals. Materials. Special quest items, maybe. Weapons. Armors. Yep. Resistances, buffs. So what are these? This one, this one. Does that just mean this is the heart? So this is the Arisen, this you. I guess that signifies that's you. And then this is your pawn, this is your hired pawns. different icons for those. Alright, maybe that's what it is then. Oh, so maybe that is what the hand is next to the name. Maybe the hand next to the name of one of the pawns is your main pawn. Your main pawn has that hand, maybe. To make it easier to spot in battle. For some reason. Just said it again, you can only recover a lost gauge at the inn on their campsite. Oh, it said it in the pop-up, you mean? Yeah, I did not read that. It went away too quickly. Let's see. The lost gauge can only be recovered by resting at the inn or campsite. Keep your party fine, fettling the resting, prolonged battles, blah blah blah. I thought there was a second part to that message. Ah, they click the first part away. Hold on. Playback. 0.25. Oh god, this audio. Oh god, this audio. There you go. That's terrible audio. Alright, back to normal. When you take damage, not only is your health, remaining health reduced, with the maximum health you can recover is reduced also. The lost gauge represents this temporary reduction. It is likely to accumulate if you do not rest between battles. Your maximum health will remain reduced after battle is over. You'll be unable to recover it with the use of curative magics or items. Okay. Okay, so that is a change that they made then, it seems. So yeah, potions or herbs do not recover that anymore either. It seems. However, one of the things I did notice in these gameplay footage, especially the last one, right? You saw them dying quite often and using wake stones, or well, you saw them dying like two or three times. So I think the wake stones are gonna be much easier to find around in the world. You're probably going to be able to find those more often than in the original. Because in the original, a lot of them are hidden, the shards, and you can buy a couple of them. But they are quite rare, right? Up until the end game, when you get to the Everfall, and you can basically farm them, right? Up until that point, the end of the game, they are really hard to come by. So I feel like maybe in this game, they're a little bit more common items because you cannot restore your health after a certain point. So then if you do die, you can wake stone yourself up and then you have full health again. Probably. I'm guessing that is the case here. Let's see. Let's go back to where we were. It's like over here somewhere. I think it's gonna be something like that. Yeah, 11 is doing a lot of damage. Good. Fire as well. Nicely done. Level 8. Oh, so this is a low level party. Nice. Good job. So that is quite early into the game. Oh, another Cyclops. Oh yeah, another Cyclops looks like. They could have given extra wake stones for the preview build. That is possible, but I feel like that would have been a bad idea. Giving wake stones just for the preview build, because now people are expecting there to be wake stones. But to be honest, it was a level 20 build as well, right? Because we saw it level up from 21 to 22. So it is a little bit later in the game. It's not early game. It's like mid to late game sort of situation. Mid game. So maybe not early game you'll be able to get those, but maybe in the mid game you'll be able to find those. Somewhere. Or buy them more often. Maybe from the elves, for example. From the elven faction. That'd be cool. Oh, grab his ass. Stab him. I like that did he just summon fire himself? Or did he get that from a mage? I think he summoned it himself, the spell. The weapon skill. Yeah, last health bar. A lot of Cyclopses. Probably in the early game you'll find those more often. As opposed to any of the other creatures. I wanna see a fight of a Chimera more. We haven't really seen much of that. Only griffins, cyclopses, and ogre ones, the minotaur ones in the dark cave. Lots of cyclopses. We've seen lots of those. Griffins, we've seen a bunch of those. But no chimera fights. Other than like a 1 minute preview with the spearhead. Oh, nice. Big damage there. Nicely done. Oh, you see the discipline points as well. I didn't notice that before. But you see XP that you gained and the discipline points. I don't think in the original games it shows the discipline. Only XP. That's good. More health, stamina, etc. Nice. Alright, so that was the thief gameplay. Now the warrior.
Useful things, eh?
The different combinations of materials result in different creations.
Thief's pretty cool looking. They're all cool looking. Right, there's an ogre. Big hairy ogre. Yeah, they seem to have a lot more fur in this one. A lot more hair. Hair, fur, potato, potato. Ooh, that is a lot of damage. Oh, they didn't really go according to plan. They wanted to jump from up high. Yeah, like that. Nice. Probably does more damage like that. Yeah, that didn't really work.
We can ill afford to rush headlong into battle. Let us watch our foe carefully to determine our best strategy here.
Nice.
Let my magics grant you with elements of
Ooh.
focus your strength, Arisen.
Crawling. Yeah, so I've seen that in other gameplay as well. Like, I guess if you're too low in health, or like if you're thrown, you're like crippled for a couple of seconds or whatever. You can like crawl to safety, it seems. But we haven't really seen much of that. Oh, almost got tossed into the water there. Way low on health, right? Being helped up. All right. Yeah, so you're gonna have to crawl on the floor quite a bit, it seems. Oh, there's a cart. Oh, nice. Those knights escorting it are helping out. That is cool. So the world really is alive. Random knights protecting a cart can help you out. That's pretty neat. He used a quick item shortcut. Oh, did he? I did notice the health going up like immediately for like 20%, but I wasn't sure if he was using anything for that. Did not really see it. Epic fail. Pretty cool though. Cool idea. Cool idea, but the execution was poor. Oh, nice. Yeah, monsters fighting other monsters doesn't really happen in the most games. So I wonder if that happens here, maybe. It did not happen in the first game. Not really. Sometimes, like, I remember yesterday actually, the Hydra, the Arch Hydra was attacking the undead zombies walking around. But that doesn't happen often in this game, in the original. Not much. Reviving, yeah. So reviving does take a couple of seconds. And I guess the white bars indicate how long they have until you can revive them. You've seen a couple of clips of goblins fighting saurians. Alright, that's cool. It's almost dead. Ooh.
Let us finish this.
Nice. Good job. Last attack. Flying over its head. Burn him to ash. Level 11. Alright, so this was a fairly low level build as well. Pretty cool though. These are all going to be pretty low level probably. Because this was footage from 2 months ago, so... Back then, they didn't really have access to higher builds, probably. Oh, that's a pretty cool spell, the Frost one. Levitate. I like the levitate a lot more than in the original. Seems to be more agile, like you can move around a bit more.
Seek out the young man from the other day. I know the way.
Agile is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. But that's a Cyclops with a helmet on. I was wondering if we would see that one again. With helmets. We've seen them with a couple of, like, braces on the leg and stuff, but hadn't seen them with a helmet yet. Fire doesn't really do that much. It's good, but not that much. It should do, yeah, the 11 spell, there you go. 11 does so much damage. But you can do a follow-up attack. Hey, hold on. What did I see? He's like spellcasting, and then underneath my webcam you can see follow-up attack square, follow-up attack triangle, follow-up attack with any of the other buttons as well. So I guess you can keep doing the attack until your stamina runs out, maybe, or up until something. Yeah, it looks like up until your stamina runs out, because it was almost completely drained. So maybe they stopped attacking at the right time or something. The Wayfarer vocation shows some cool levitate. Is that one of 50 seconds? The vocation? I see a vocation video of like 51 seconds. It's not much.
I could guide you there if you wish.
Take a look at that one after this. Whoa. 2 pawns are down. That's rough when you're a mage or sorcerer. Quick spell. Frost. Heal. Yeah, that's definitely going to be tricky, bringing back your pawns in this game. Because as I mentioned, like in the first one, you could just run up to them, press like circle, or well, the interaction button, and it would basically immediately bring them up. Because where in this one, it does take a couple of seconds. Out of stamina again. We got stamina back really quickly there. Use a special item or ability. Oh. Even the sorcerer, it looks like, can do some good damage when grabbing onto the enemy. Interesting. That's pretty cool. Alright. Well, let's do a Wayfarer. Oh, that was very loud. My goodness. Let's do a Wayfarer now then. We'll do this one. I'm not gonna watch this one. I was gonna watch it at first, but I know I've seen that one a bunch of times, so. Alright, let's watch this Wayfarer vocation video then. See if we can spot anything cool in there. Yeah, this is gonna be a very good class, being able to switch to different weapons and stuff. Staff, sword, shield, magic bow, spear, dual spear. So many cool combinations you can do. It's basically switch to anything. Oh, that is useful. Jump, levitate, high up. Grab the enemy. Fighting the Drake. Exposing its heart. Nice. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Nice. Right, well, I think that's gonna be it for this stream, actually. A little under 3 hours. That's actually pretty good. I thought this stream was gonna be a lot less than that, because like all the footage combined was probably like an hour 30 minutes or something. But of course we did pause often. We talked about some stuff, so yeah, good. I'm happy with this. Are you excited about Dragon's Dogma? I know I am. I know I am super excited about Dragon's Dogma 2. I cannot wait. With all the little new things that we saw or think we saw. At this point we can only speculate until we can see new gameplay, which we probably won't. They probably will not release much more new gameplay before the release. Except like maybe the last 2 or 3 days when like special content creators get access to play it early. Or live stream it early maybe. I don't know. We'll see anyway. Super excited. If you are gonna be getting this game yourself, if you are gonna get Dragon's Dogma 2, add me on Steam. If you are playing it on PC anyway. If you're playing it on PlayStation, I don't think that will work. But add me on Steam as a friend. Because then we can share pawns. Then you can have my pawn. I can choose your pawn in battle. Definitely add me on Steam. Yeah, I know you already have that king, of course. But I added my Steam profile to this link in the chat. To my beacons.ai link. That's a website that has all of my other links. My YouTube, Twitch, Discord, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And also now includes my Steam profile. I finally added it like I wanted to do for a very long time. So add me there as a friend. And then who knows? Maybe I will use your pawn in my playthroughs. Or you can use my pawn in your playthroughs. That should be a lot of fun. It should be very cool. Thanks for being here. Tomorrow I'm going to be playing something else. I'm going to be playing some Norfolk, I believe it's called. I got a key for that game from the publishers, from the developers, so I'll be playing that one. It's very different from Dragon's Dogma. It's more of a colony, a top-down colony builder type game, but it's pretty cool. I like the look of it. And then the day after that, I'm probably gonna be back with some more Dragon's Dogma 1 gameplay. So that should be good. Should be good fun. And then soon, on March 22nd, we'll finally be able to play some Dragon's Dogma 2. It's gonna be amazing. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. And I hope to see you all in the next one.